So I'm in the middle of a teardown of a boat trailer restore, and as you can see, I got most of the frame tore apart and all the rollers off, and everything's marked so it can go back under the boat exactly how it was when I put it back together after it's painted. By the way, it's going to be that part is going to be silver, and that fender is going to be blue, and the winch stand will be blue, which is going to be up there somewhere. And the reason I'm making this video here is because of this. It's just a genius idea, except for one problem. So the guy drilled and tapped this. That goes, screws in like this. So it's between the two bearings, so it has to force grease into both bearings, right? So it's really a great idea. The only flaw is, when you put that on, you got to put this back on. Or if you take that off, you have to take and have one of these in your toolkit just to change the tire. So that's getting welded shut, and a set of bearing buddies will go in there. But think about how this works. It's cool because this goes in and forces grease this way through the bearing. It also forces grease through the other bearing versus forcing the grease through this bearing and hope to hell it forces grease out this side, which it does, and that's why there's usually grease slathered all over in the fender and springs and all that. But I just wanted to show you guys, back in the day, in the 60s, people thought stuff up. They were inventive. Mother of invention, you know, on everything. This is going to be a really cool trailer when it's done. I just love the finned rear fenders. I already checked them for cracks because they're notorious for cracking where the welds are, but these seem to look okay because I'll find out when I paint it. They break. By the way, I know it's just really somebody wants to do body work and make these perfect, but I've done enough of these and made them perfect, and the fenders shake and vibrate, and it breaks the body plastic right where it goes over all that because the fenders wiggle too much. If you don't do that, the paint seems to just lay there forever, and you just got to look at a little bit of a whoop-de-doo from a weld, you know, unless you paint it and never go anywhere with it. Well, then it'll be perfect forever. But just wanted to share that little bit of insight. It's going to be a cool restore. Wait till you see the boat that's going on it. Well, here's a trailer update. This got all sandblasted and cleaned up really, really well. There, as you can see, the trailer tongue is sandblasted there, and trailer frame's outside to be blasted, and I need more sand, so it kind of hit a wall there. But this is all done and ready to go back together. But now I'm working on the weird part, which was the Zerk fitting that was put in here to act like a bearing buddy. And so kind of wanted to explain how I do this and to get rid of that hole. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is heat it up and get all the grease, if there's any. I washed this and drove out the races and stuff, and because it's getting all new races, bearings, bearing buddies, and little cutie booties on the bearing buddies. So anyway, what I'm going to do next is I take my torch, that thing, and I heat this up so I burn off any paint or anything that's on there and get the thing all cleaned up. And then, as you can see, and then what I do is I do just a very, very small weld. I go around the back and work my way until I puddle it completely shut, but I make sure that it's not any taller than what it originally was. And also you have to be mindful of the inside. No, this is still freaking hot. Ha! Okay, here we go. Okay, you can see the weld right there, kind of. Oh, there we go. You can see that there's most of that threaded area is welded shut. You don't have to be real fussy. It's not going to blow out of there. But what you do have to be fussy about is not blocking that notch, because that's how you drive races out if you ever have to change bearings. So you don't want a whole lot of slag down there. Whoops. You want a whole lot of slag down there. You're going to end up taking a die grinder to it and gnawing away at it for a while. Been there, done that. This isn't the first time I've seen people do this stuff, but ouch, damn, that's warm. It's just how you need to fix it. I've seen them put them on the back sides, back here. I've seen them, and think about that. Well, actually, you crawl underneath the trailer and you can take and grease zerk back here and you can squirt it in from there. And it's closer to the bearing that usually almost always fails, which is the inner bearing. So I guess there's some smarts to all that. But anyway, I give it a little update on that. So that stuff all got done. A lot of stuff is getting restored in here. Like the rollers and stuff have all been painted. A lot of the brackets that got to go back on the trailer have all been acid dipped because they were all rusty. I acid dip almost everything. I rarely sandblast. Big, huge pieces I'll sandblast. All these were acid dipped and then painted. These are going back together. As you can see, I got one greased up, and I got to figure out how to come up with that little C-clip. Well, another cool hack for this is you can take mechanics wire and wrap it around here and then just get it super freaking tight. Now, this together is bolted in there, so it's not going to move. It's more of holding it all together until, get back here so it'll focus, till you can get it, bolted back in place. So that's all that clip really does. That shaft and things don't really walk around very much. They stay pretty put. But anyway, you can use mechanics wire, wrap it around there, and then twist it tight, and that's good enough if you can't find a clip or a giant C-clip, which I already went and looked for one, and they're not there. Most of these rollers also were contaminated with white paint, and I just took 80 grit on a DA and sanded it off, and you really can't tell that I did anything to it, really. It looks pretty good. Good enough. It's under a boat. No one's going to see it. Ow. Let's see. What else we got going on here? Other than a complete and utter mess. I made that for a guy, for a transom in his boat, and I haven't got it on his boat yet. And I told him I would. I'll get there. Okay, the fenders are all been sandblasted, all the paint off, and the winch stands all been paint spot blasted off. And then there was so much rust on these things, I actually soaked them in acid and dipped these as well to get rid of any of the rust. And these will get DA'd with 80 grit and go into epoxy primer. And I think they're going to go into white epoxy primer because it's what I have the most of. And in all honesty, that's what should be under this color of blue anyway. For some stupid reason, I would think black would darken it up. These are little brackets and stuff like that. These are all rusted to hell, and I acid dip them too. And as you can see, they turned out really nice. And that's rattle can stuff. I found this new paint. And where did I put it? I guess I didn't find it. It's not to be found. Well, that's dumb. Okay, well, anyway. Just to let you know what's going to go on here, as I've got electric blue, and this is 2007 Dodge color. And that is what is going to be on the fenders and the winch stand. But I'm going to, in the first coat of clear, while it's still wet, I'm going to have another gun loaded up with a super reduced silver mixing color. And it's a real dense metallic. And I'm going to dust over the top of the first coat of clear with the metallics, not get the base coat on there or anything like that. Just let the metallics fall where they may. So the metallics are going to be trapped between the base color and into the clear, and then put a second coat of clear on to bury them in between the two colors. It really makes, it acts like a metal flake, a mini metal flake. It really makes them kick. I've done it before. It's just neat paint tricks. Got a lot of tricks if you do this for 50 years. Trial and error. Mismatched stuff that's not supposed to work. Yeah, this is another thing too that's going on, which I'll have to get back to this, but this is all getting sanded from roughly here down and degreased and sanded, and then it'll all get completely repainted with Mercury Phantom Black. Again, another rattle can job, but if you put their primer on here as a sealer in between, man, it sticks like gangbusters and it will come out just gorgeous. I will be doing a video on that after the fact. I don't do a lot of videos while I'm doing stuff because I don't have the extra set of hands to hold a camera. I do have a friend of mine. She was supposed to possibly give me a hand with some of this filming and stuff, but she works too, so it's kind of hard. Anyway, I just really wanted to kind of follow up on this. And like I said, the main body of the trailer frame is outside. This is done and painted now. This will get probably put somewhere else. And I will probably just paint that tongue first. Or more than likely, I'm going to paint the tongue. That's going to be silver. Okay, I'm just, whatever's left over base coats is what's going on this trailer. And Omni's 260 quick clear is what I'm going to use because that's what we have the most of around here. So we use it for a lot of spot paint jobs and panel jobs and stuff like that. So that's pretty good paint, or pretty good clear for what, it's a boat trailer after all. But it's going on a really special project for somebody I think is pretty damn special. And so, for some people, I think they're really special. And it's a gift. So, anyway, I do think that turned out really swimmingly. Oh, to show you what I did, and I've used this stuff before a lot of times. This is Rust-Oleum's paint and primer all in one. And I gave it the test of tests and painted it on some tractor stuff on the farm here. And it was kind of sort of rusty, really didn't prep it much. And it was prone to be a rusty thing, and sprayed it on there. And 3 years later, it still looks like the day I painted it on there. And it was virtually no prep. Now, this has had quite a bit of prep. That got all sandblasted. It was horribly rusted. I mean, just the springs were brown. So anyway, just a general update on everything. I got to get back to welding that other piece up. As you can see, I got gear cases to work on up the wazoo. I got too much to do. Kind of reminds me of Jamie at Dead Dodge Garage. 57,000 projects and time for 12. Anyway, enough for this for now. When I get these rebuilt and on that axle, because that's what's going to happen, is these are going to get sandblasted after I'm not going to dip these. I don't have the patience. So I'm just going to quick sandblast these. They're going to go into the same black that's on there. The wheels are going to be painted something entirely different. It'll be like a real flat black or a real base satin, not the semi-satin is what I got to call this. But I got a different plan for the wheels. Not going for standout and fancy wheels. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, sandblast these, and then once I get them blasted, I'll paint them. Then once they get dried, probably tomorrow, I'll put the bearings in them and put them on the axles so that whole assembly is completely done. And then put that away until the frame is dried for a day or two. Then I'll start reassembling the frame. And then I'll show you guys that when I get to it. Anyway, I want to keep this under 12 minutes. This is just a general update of what's going on. So here's a quick short for you on what I'm up to. Well, for one, this has all been, there was a catwalk in here, and that had all get welded up, and this has all been sandblasted and sanded and 80 grit, and so is the tongue. And I got to move along here. And the fenders have all been sandblasted, and they need to get sanded and get into epoxy primer. And the winch stand, these are all turning blue. And with a mist coat of metal flake, whoa, that motor I have to paint. I have to do the clean this up and paint from like tear down. So that's got to get done today. And so when that's done, that'll go. The whole axle assembly's already been done, which is this dude right here. That's all ready to go, and the hubs are up there and ready to get installed. No wheels yet because they're gamey and nasty, and I'm out of time. I guess not. Okay, that's being DA'd right now, but I found a bunch of scratches and gouges, which means I'll end up having to prime. This is the floor, and this is going on here. So this is the floor. The bottom side is all painted now with 2 coats, so it flips over and gets 3 on the top. And that'll encompass a couple of days due to dry time. So, there you go. That's just one of the projects I'm working on. I got another one that's supposed to get sanded right after this one gets sanded. Now here's a little trailer update. So I get my camera to focus. Okay, so anyway, this is the last time you saw this trailer. It basically sandblasted all the yellow paint off of it, and now it's been not only that, but it's been sanded in 80 grit, and any little boo-boos that were on there were removed, and so on there. And as you know, that there was holes in here, and up there, which those got welded shut. And that was for that stupid catwalk that was on there. It's a 14-foot boat. You don't need a freaking catwalk. Step in the water. But pretty happy how that turned out, you know. I mean, it's basically looks like it was. This one here too. You know, before there was holes punched in it. So got that looking good. And so this is going into paint and the trailer tongue. That took me a while because I had to actually build some jigs because I wanted this to be held up. You can see I crafted a jig over here with a long bolt, and then did the same up here so it would hold it so I could get underneath and get paint where it needs paint the worst. And did the same thing here with this trailer tongue. And then of course the poles that have to be grounded anyway to make the lights work. I wanted to make sure that there was no paint in them holes. They'll rust up and cause all kinds of hell because that's what they do in these tilt bed trailers. But I should have deleted it and welded the tongue solid. I do that with a majority of them. And as a matter of fact, my Lumacraft came up with all kinds of problems, so that's what's going to happen with it. And I'm going to back it in here when this job's done. My fender's kind of flash rusted on me, and this is kind of flashy right now to give you an idea of the flash rust from these got acid dipped again. I really did the underside really good because I'll just paint right over that. You see this one has got kind of a straight there, it's got a blue tinge to it, and all the surface rust that was on here is completely eaten away. It's all completely neutralized and gone in comparison to what it was. I mean, it was spider rust everywhere. God, this thing does not want to focus today. There we go. So the next step for this is it's going to get DA'd. Now I'm going to tip this over so you can see the underside. Now there's kind of a gold color here, and you can see a little white stuff. Don't let that bother you. That's an iron phosphate coating. It's a non-molybdate, so non-metal. There's molybdate coatings, which is there's actual metal in there like zinc or what have you for adhesive purposes. But the industry has gone to non-molybdate products due to environmental concerns with heavy metals, so that's what you get. And that's an iron phosphate coating, that blue coating on there, kind of bluish white coating. You can paint right over the top of it. I'm going to do that with this, and I've done it before. Paint sticks great because it acid etched the metal really good. Plus it was sandblasted too, so I mean it's going to stick without doing. It's going to cut a bunch of steps out. You can just go right over it with a good epoxy primer like Omni. This is what I use mostly. And that stuff sticks really good. Omni PPG DuPont. You can use any of those. These, like I said, I'm sanding this with 80 grit before I put the epoxy primer on it. And again, it's a boat trailer, so it's going to get epoxy primered. It's going to not get sanded after that. It's going to go directly into color, clear, metal flake, clear, done. So that's the plan. And today it's going to go into epoxy primer, and I don't know if it's going to be blue or not. The trailer tongue as well is going to be blue as well, but that just got DA'd and that came out really well, so I didn't bother to acid dip it. Too many places for water to get trapped, and just didn't want to screw with it. Yes, my paint boot's a mess. I get stuff everywhere. Pretty depressing. But for little teeny weeny little jobs, I do it pretty much right in front of my fan anyway. Yeah, and that 20-hour smirk didn't get painted either. Actually, I ended up doing more work to it. I found some things that needed attention. So that's going to be really pretty when it's done. That will be a video by itself, I'm sure, but it'll be tagged in with this whole restoration thing. So I just wanted to get some of this taken care of to add to it. So that's where we're going for today. And probably put a short in here after I get done with taking the trailer frame into silver. So we'll be back. Well, the wind fender got sanded with no problems or whatever there, so that's all sanded and 80 grit ready to go. Maybe look like it's shadowing, but it's just because of the lighting in the booth. Light coming from different angles freaks out my cell phone. This one was all sanded, but what I did find is I found that there is a big gouge in the metal. And there was actually another gouge right here, equally as screwed. And there's a trick. A lot of body men know this, but a lot of people don't know this, is when you want to take the pad off your DA, you can lock your DA up so it's solid and it spins the whole thing. You turn this, and then you can actually turn this into a face, what they call a face grinder. So in other words, you can do things like this. You can polish metal with it. And I've done that with, I don't know how many Harley cases, and oh my God, a lot of aluminum stuff, but at different grits, of course. But that needs to be dealt with. And I do have other things that can grind that metal away. A lot of guys will do body plastic over that and some little, or like spot putty or something to get rid of that. But these fenders crack body plastic because they wiggle too much. So you're a whole lot better if it's not super deep to just take and grind it. And plus, it's on a radius, so you won't, if it gets wavy, you'll never know it. The other thing I forgot about is this fender had a big old dent in the front of it, and it was all messed up, and I straightened it, but it has a bunch of hammer dings in it, and that stuff's got to go. I can't paint over that. So that's going to be the next project here, is to attack this. And I'll do just a little video at the end here once I get done with this, so you can see the before here and the after. Or aftermath, you never know. Like it never happened. Take a look at that. Remember the gouge? It's gone. Now I'm going to go over this with the DA again with 80 grit, and just to make sure that it's really rounded nice, but it's not gouged up, it's not weird, it's not wavy, because I went along in this way, so I spanned out the, the whole grinding away the material. So, and as for the end, that turned out surprisingly well, and that is a whole bunch of beautiful right there. And you remember that was all dinged to hell? Yeah. So there's still plenty of fender thickness and material. I mean, you didn't really take off that much, if you dollied it really, really, really good, like I did, you're not going to remove that much metal. So that's just a little tech tip. Automotive sheet metal, yeah, I don't know if I'd be doing that. You'd be digging a hole through it. Because that stuff on radius is just ultra thin on when they bend metal on cars. It gets stamped and it gets super thin wherever there's a radius. And a corner especially. You can go through a corner so fast, if you're not paying attention, it's not funny. I've done a gazillion cars, done a ton of metal work, and I'm very careful when I start working with automotive sheet metal, because it is a ton, less thickness than this. I don't know the thickness, so I can't say for a fact, but just want to show the difference, the before and after here, so that you can cheat sometimes. So, and the little DA hack, you're using the DA rather than going grabbing a grinder and putting the pad on it and doing all that. You can use your DA. Kind of tears up sandpaper. Well, that's what it does. Now I've gone back to DA mode, but it does kind of tear up your sandpaper a little bit on the edges, but it just does such a fantastic job. Been doing that for like 30 years. Old Body Man taught me that trick. Anyway, that's all I wanted to add. So here's a little update on things. This has the fenders are in epoxy primer, and as this camera is being stupid, you can see they came out remarkably well, and whatever dingity ding 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 that was on the end is long gone, and this fender that had that gouge is like perfect. The other thing I do, this is a boat trailer, so I really don't care, but one thing I'm going to tell you is that whatever is under your base, with most of these base coats today, they're so transparent, it alters the color. So if you wanted to go with kind of a neat little paint effect, like I'm doing here, you'll notice that, I don't know if you can see it or not. Now maybe on that fender. Okay, you can see it on this fender. You can see that I took and put a dull or a different aluminum underneath here, color, or silver, actually, not aluminum. But this is white. And then this is, don't mind the shadow. That's just a shadow. This is a silver. So the silver is darker than the white, so the white is going to actually pop. The blue color, it'll look just like it did on any Chrysler vehicle, but the silver is going to darken it around the edges. Thus why I did it. And when I paint these, basically I'm not doing anything with the underside of the fender. I just used a different silver in there, whatever is laying around I wanted to use up, and I'll explain on the trailer. But that'll just stay like it is. This will get some paint on it on both sides, and that'll get some paint on it so you can see it's blue from the outside. You really don't see it anyway because the tire goes in there anyway. I could just say, man, screw it, and it wouldn't matter. Whatever overspray is, what it is. But these are going to go blue next, and that piece is pure white epoxy primer, and that will just, it'll look like the center of this actually. So anyway, that explains the fenders, and what's going to happen next is going to be the base coat. All right, so this, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to really try. But you can see it's really silvery. Well, okay, I'll explain how that happens. First of all, I used up, there's a fly, shoe fly. There is a, every bit of silver that was laying around the shop, you can see the tongue looks really sparkly from here. Well, I got my camera freaking out. There we go, kind of. Anyway, it's got to be a better way to do this. You have to get one of them happy sticks. Or a better camera. Anyway, so what I want to show here, and I don't know if you can actually see it, or if the camera will, oh, there you go. You can really see the high metallic in this. Now, when I hit this with clear, it's going to really pop. But I've got another little paint trick that I do. I do mixing color, silver mixing color. It's a very strong metallic, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. And after I shoot the first coat of clear on here, because everything underneath here on the underside of this trailer and the inside of the frame rails is getting one coat of clear, done. The outside rails, because we're doing a little custom paint work, is going to end up with 2 coats of clear. And the reason why is because of what I'm going to do to turn this into somewhat of a metal flake look. Fine metal flake look. When the sun hits it, it's going to be just, holy shit. And that's how that fenders are going to turn out too, because I'll explain it's going to be done in that process too. But it's very fussy. If you're going to do it over any kind of color, you can change that color radically so fast, it's unreal. You got to be very careful. So you maybe, yeah, you can't even really see it in the tongue at all. The tongue is more just a silver, and the frame of the trailer is actually got the flake in it more, but it'll all have the flake in it when it's done. We're going to go back in here so I can explain a little bit about this. I don't want this to be too awful windy, but I use, where'd it go? This, nope, that's not it. Oh, here we go. DMD 650. And this is a mixing color, and it's, so you got to reduce it to use it. It's a mixing color, and I use this straight, okay? It's a DB, or DBC mixing color is what it is. So DMD is a DBC mixing color, but it works in Omni as well in different variations. But this is just the mixing color called strong silver. Okay. Now, this is once it's reduced. Now, this is going to be, oh, shit. This is going to be reduced, and it needs to be stirred again because all the metallics are laying on the bottom. So we'll do that quick and see what happens there. But the idea is you can see the metallics here on the stick. If I turn the stick right, it's extremely metallic-y. Now, you want to over reduce this because you don't want the silver part in there. You just want the metallics to land, okay? And you don't want your paint job to turn that color because it will. So you got to get way back with the paint gun. You got to run two guns. You got to have one with clear in it, which will be this guy. Okay, that'll be my straight clear. And then this guy will have this snot in it. And I'll have to make up more, I'm sure, but when I get to the fenders probably. But I usually go 800 to 1,000% reduction, which is ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous, but there's a reason for it. The thinner it is, the more you can use it as an overspray, because that's all you're really doing when you're shooting this over the clear is you're just utilizing the overspray. You want the overspray, the metallics, the heavy metals, if you will, to land in your clear, in your soft clear. So you got to get back and you got to do it that way. Not sure if there's anything else I can really show you outside on that. And I can't show you when I'm painting because there's just so much paint overspray that in the air it would screw up my phone. But anyway, that's the premise behind all this. And so you can see how much this is ridiculously reduced. It's very beautiful. It just does all kinds of cool things. And that's just the metallics floating around in there. And, oh, there you go. So that's what's going to happen in the, and here's, if you look in the paint or the strainer, you can see how the metallics hang up in the strainer. Well, that's kind of what's going to happen. But there's not going to be very much of it. It's going to be just like and done. Okay? So otherwise you'll be changing that color of blue will be just going silver. And then you start over. And that sucks. So you got one shot at this to make it pretty. Remember, outside edges are going to be the burnt edge, so they're going to be slightly darker than the center. So if you overdo it with the in the clear, so you put your first coat of clear on, just with the first coat of clear, get that done. Then get way back away from them and dust it into the air around them so you can just see a little metallics in it, and then stop. And then you go with the second coat of clear on it, And you can go to a third coat if you want to, if you're really going to go crazy. But again, this is a freaking boat trailer, and this is so over the top. And if it wasn't for, it's a giveaway, okay? It's for somebody really special, and a group of people, actually, that are really special to me. So I am going to give them one last gift. And so I'll get into that more later. But there you go. So here's the follow-up, kind of a quick update here to add into this little video debacle. This thing's totally painted, and base, and mid-coat, metallics and clear, and you won't be able to see how crazy this is. And oh, there you go. Yeah, when that goes outside, how? But there's a secret treat coming up in this video, and that is that the winch stand and fenders and whatnot got painted. This is set up here now, so the axle's going to go back underneath it, and that will get done tonight. And I'm going to put some dummy wheels on it because I am most certainly not putting these skankified things back on here. And the tires would go for a while yet, but I'm going to take them off anyway. Put them on tire machine, pull them off, inspect them really good. And if we can get a few more years out of them, yay! So, these old tires, I mean seriously, these old tires outlast the new ones times 10. I have blown brand new tires, and this old stuff, if it's not sidewall rotted real bad, will live for decades. It's stupid. Nothing's made like it used to. Anyway, I walk past that rear end all the time, and there's a story behind that. We'll get to that. Anyway, so a little bit of fun in a paint booth. These are the 2007 Dodge blue color, and they are done up nicely, and the winch stand came out remarkably well. And to hit this color, you're supposed to paint it over white. Yeah, it's ridiculously transparent. So ended up having to not go 1-to-1. I ended up going 1 3/4 roughly. So that's kind of how that ended. But shiny, very flat, very perfect-ish. But here's the thing, and I don't know that my camera can get this. Now this is a paint trick. And yeah, I don't think my camera's, maybe this one. No. Okay, let's go back to this one. All right, there you can kind of see it right there. And where my finger's going to go, oh, it's way over here. All right, so this you really can't tell till it gets out in the sunshine. So what I did here was put the base coat on, put a coat of clear on, let the clear, stop that camera, let the clear dry, like you normally would for your second coat. Then come back and put a 800% reduced in a separate gun. It's 800% reduced silver metallic mixing color called DMD 650. And it's somewhere between 800 and 1,000% reduced. Okay, so if you figure 1-to-1 is 100% reduced. Okay, so to give you some concept, then you get back about 3 feet and you mist that into the air, so the particulate, not the paint part, the metallics are heavier, they will fly through the air like missiles, and you let them just get dusted, and you just splatter your gun into the air haphazardly. And I know it sounds stupid, but it's very true. And then you just lay that out there and then walk away, because your clear is wet again because you got reducer in it. All right, if you go on it right away, number one, the metallics are going to lay down. They're going to do stupid things. You're not going to sit up and get locked in place when the clear cures. So the second thing you want to do is drop into your second and final coat of clear. Now this is a boat trailer. If I was doing a car, I'd do 3 coats because we'd be wet sanding and buffing and doing all kinds of stupid stuff. But this, like I said, this is good enough. Most of my paint jobs turn out super flat. I've been doing this a very long time, and I'm extremely anal about my clear coats and laying them out just as flat as I can get them. And as you can see, anal pays off. Wait a minute. I probably shouldn't say that. Well, it depends on the company you keep, I guess. Anyway, yeah, poor stab at humor. Anyway, so that's the trick. Basically, you're creating a tri-coat system is what you're actually doing. And some guys have done this. I've done it too with pearls and pearlescence, like frost blue pearl over white. And that is white base, frost blue pearl clear, and then clear over the top of that. So it's all ready to made, and you just go through all those processes. Which, if you screw up in a pearl coat, you're so screwed. And same thing goes for this. If you get this on too heavy, you will change the color of this paint. It will do weird stuff. Now, the cool thing about why I do this is because it goes all chameleon. It will grab whatever, the metallics will grab whatever color it's next to. So it could turn potentially green or red, blue base, but green, red, blue, you know, whatever. And the sun hits it, it's going to look like a metal flake job, microflake, but metal flake job. It's just going to, it's going to be neat. So, pretty crazy for a giveaway. And I did the winch stand. I don't know why I did the winch stand, but I wish there was some way. I don't know. I can't get the light in the paint booth to do justice to what this really is, but you can actually see the suspended metallics here slightly. So when this goes out in the sunshine, then it's going to be stupid. Well, as I go down with the camera, maybe you can pick it up in the video. I don't know. It's going to be next to impossible to tell. Very hard. Well, there you can see in the upper corner where my, yeah, use my reflection. Right there. Right there, you can see the metallics suspended in between the two clear coats. So, and as I pan over the, oh, there we go. And as I pan over the top of it, you can really see how they're suspended in there, and it's just going to make this color absolutely stunning. There's a couple little things that floated into my paint too I'm not very happy about, but it's a boat trailer. Who cares? I do. I care about everything I paint, and everything I paint turns out amazing. And one of these days I'm going to do a feature on my kid's truck, and I painted every inch of that. And yeah, that was a long time coming. I think I'm going to be buying it from him because he wants to move on in life, and I refuse to let him sell his first true build. So Dad's going to step in and harp up a whole buttload of money, and now it's a reflection, not a run. Don't panic. It's been a long time since I hung a run, but I can do them by request. Sometimes not even by request. But an old body man told me, he said, if the paint ain't running, you ain't got enough on. That's kind of like bad advice. But I get his point. But he used to shoot alkylid enamels, which literally you could run that paint off the side of a car, let it drip all off, and it would lay out the next morning and be gloss, beautiful, gorgeous. Anyway, enough of this silliness. I want to end this here, and the next step is going to be assembly of the trailer frame, bunks, rollers, all that fun stuff. I'm going to work on that tonight. I may bounce back to another quick video on that too. Don't know how I'm going to group all these together, if I'm just going to put this together as one ridiculously long video that's going to put everybody to sleep, or bring popcorn. Who knows? Well, many moments later. Well, that's what they say. Anyway, so it's time for this thing to get some assembly. It's an assembly. So we're getting the axle back in today. And we're going to get into this whole box of goodies and start the final assembly. And I have to finish rebuilding some of the rollers that are on the back bench yet, because I take them all apart, I grease everything at least one good time so everything rolls and does rolly things, what they're supposed to. Of course, the tongue will go back in it, fenders will go on. I'm going to put some temporary tires on it to roll it out the door while I rip these apart and sandblast these and repaint these rims. And then there's, these are going to be the temporary tires. So that's kind of where I'm headed with this today. So there's going to be bits and pieces of change. I'm not going to spend very long on this because, yeah, lots to do. But yeah, lots to do. All kinds of stuff. Every nut, bolt, screw, everything is going to be addressed, cleaned, painted, whatever it needs doing. When I do these, I either do it all the way or I don't do it at all. Time for some fun. All this stuff goes on that thing. And by the way, I got the axle in. So that means all the stuff that goes to an axle has to go on it. And then all the stuff to a trailer bed has to go on it. So, yeah, and these things. So, here comes the fun. Ooh, shiny, flaky things. And that's what I do. Make neat stuff. That's how to look pretty. Hopefully you can see the sun on this thing and it changing colors and picking up different things. Yeah. Today's episode, many days later, has been actually, there's been about 5 hours of assembly, believe it or not, because there's been a lot of reconditioned things, and the wiring harness is going in the tube of the trailer, and boy, that blue really looks crazy on this thing. I still got to get the jack on it. I'm in the process of a few things left. Rollers are all on, but I'm not sure I have everything just perfect, so I didn't really super tighten the winch stand down because I'll fit that again to the boat and make sure it's perfect. I did, however, make this very solid because I don't want it to be a tilt trailer anymore, so I pretty much set this up to, okay, you can do it, but it's not going to be happy about it. No one does that anymore anyway, you back into deeper water. Second thing that I'm going to bring up is rollers, and a lot of them is everybody puts the back roller at a little bit lower because of the bow coming on, and generally in the boat ramps today you don't really need to do that anymore. You actually want the roller, the keel roller, to really be aligned so the back end of the boat, when it squats, it will guide itself there and don't depend on the bunks to keep it there. But all the bunks are in place and fenders are on and the temporary wheels and tires are on because I'm not putting that on here. Those have to get stripped and sandblasted, whatever. I'm going to put new tires on, but that's a project for another day. This will go outside. There will be one more video. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you. Oh yeah, I'm going all LED. And I also, another thing that these trailers always use a ground, and it's the biggest pain in the butt ever because you always lose your ground. When you wire these, and I've been doing this for decades, when I rewire trailers, is you put in, that's why there's all kinds of white wire. You put a ground to each light. You're going to get wires going there anyway. What's one more? So that's going that way. Now you'll notice there's like bicycle flagpoles on the back of this trailer. Why would somebody ever do such a crazy thing? Well, this is another thing I devised. Everyone, myself included, I drive trucks. This is a little itty bitty boat on an itty bitty boat trailer. I can barely see the outboard hanging off the back of the boat when it's hooked to my truck. And I got to swerve and swing the trailer to make sure that there's a boat back there yet. So, I mean, you're just totally blind. Now, this is for when you're backing up a trailer that doesn't have a boat, you can look out your back window and you can see where these flags are. And that way you can back it into the water. Also, it makes a really nice guide. But if you're going to grab bicycle flags to do this, I need to show you a little hot tip of the day. Let's see. I'm going to have to go this way. All right. You see right here, there's dimples. And they put dimples in these so it pinched these in so these don't fall out. But you want them to fall out. So what you're going to have to do is put this in a vise and beat this thing out of here, knock it out of there. You usually just smack it a couple times on the back side of this, and then it helps it loosen up. And then pull it out and take either a body hammer or a punch or something and beat these down so that this just fits snug like this. So you can just pull this out and then you just guide it back in there and you push it in there. There has to be some resistance or they'll fall out in the water and then they'll have a bad day. So that's the new tip that is going to be in here for you guys on that. Definitely the ground, running ground with your wiring harness to both lights separate. Do not use the trailer for a ground. That always fails. The backup flags, great addition. I have that on one of my fishing boats, and I was never happier in my life when I went to go back up this summer and put it in the water. It was like, well, why did I think of that before? This is not an old idea. I've seen older fishermen do this years ago. They came up with this, so I'm not taking credit for something that somebody else dreamed up. I'm just saying that if you're going to do it, do it. There's going to be another short video when this thing hits the sunlight because these are going to look so cool when the light hits them. So pretty much, I'm going to finish up the wiring harness. I'm going to put the winch stand or jack stand on the thing, and I'm going to throw it out. Oh, yeah, the other thing. Spare tires. A lot of guys mount them on the side, but if you got a winch stand and you got the jack and it gets so busy up here you don't have it. I have a really cool way of doing this, and this will go on like this. Let me get this right. This will go on like this. And like most pickup trucks, the tire will be underneath. So now, here's the tip of the day on this. Because these stick down through so far, take and get a nut and a washer and weld the nut to the washer, spin the washer on so the nut is downward, and then get it aligned up so it's a stop point for these nuts. So when you tighten it down, you're going to pull the tire up against the frame so the rubber is on the frame, but it tightens these nuts together. And reason why is if you don't, they wiggle loose. And nobody wants to have their spare tire fall off when they're driving down the highway. And I'm pretty sure a windshield or a tire going through the windshield of a Kia would probably do some pretty serious damage, much less give an Audi an innie. So this is just something that you got to take, and you got to think this through a little bit more for these little things like this for safety's sake. And the other thing is that when you're out of room to put places, because a lot of them, there'll be a tire mounted up here on the winch stand, and that's just cumbersome as hell. And if you put a dent in your tailgate because of that, well, then you got stupid written all over you. So put the tire back there. Some put the tire up here. If you're running an 8-inch rim, yeah, sure, it'll fit in there. But a 12-inch tire has to go back here. And so that's got to get done, and I got to come up with a spare and get that painted as well so everything matches. This is an extremely over-the-top show pony type trailer for a giveaway project, which we'll let all that cat out of the bag later. But I kind of wanted to close the book on this series. The next series of videos is going to be related to the boat and the paint job on the boat, and probably the motor and the paint job on the motor and the final assembly. So this has just gotten to be long enough. And like I said, I'll let you see it outside shortly. So let's just take a moment on a project done, except the front wheel lifty thing. Jack, do that afterwards in the spare tire, but just take a moment to take it all in, all the sparkliness. If you can. I hope this camera picks this up, because it'd be a damn shame if it didn't. But yeah, so there's going to be a reflector right there and a Rooster's Customs decal right there coming from Vic yet. He makes all my decals for the channel and did my channel logo. Yeah, just taking all the sparkliness. Yeah, LED lights and so on. It's I love this shot. As you pan over the top of this fender. And the boat, I'm going to be doing that the same way, and that is right there. So if you happen to like the content here on this boat trailer restore and want to see more trailers get restored and boats get restored and Mopars get restored, like and subscribe. Now, how about a fun fact? Here's a fun fact. Boat trailers, the white is a ground, but in a vintage boat, the white is a positive. That makes virtually no sense. Why not just have red positive in a boat? But nope, that's the way they did it back in the day. So there's your fun fact. Remember again, like and subscribe and you'll see all kinds of pretty things.